A small blessing. From me to you.
Hello, War of the Visions fans. I'm Jackie Fox, and today we're going to be talking about Jeume. But before we get into that, I want to say that it really feels like the April Fools out here for War of the Visions this year were anybody who is a fan of Oldoa. Because, I mean, she's still a great unit. All of the things that I've said about her previously still hold true. Very versatile tank, very strong, and definitely part of the meta redefinition. Even if they introduced a new power tier of units today, she would still be better than at least 200 units that already exist. So she's a great, okay, maybe not at least 200, at least 190. So Oldoa is still good, and she will turn up in this video a couple of times, and mainly me losing to her. She's also a part of some really intimidating and dominating compositions. She makes a really good combination with a number of units, but this video isn't about her because Jeume just said, fuck you, and released a clearly better unit. Now, I'm not saying that you have to get Jeume and you shouldn't get Oldoa, but on a number of different levels, Jeume is the better of the two units if for whatever reason you can't decide between the two. Again, I don't think which one is theoretically better is really the way to make this decision. It's what works best with the teams you already have. And, if you're doing Great Sword or you're running A2, both of these are theoretically good, so good luck to you. Probably pick Jeume. Jeume seems like the better pick here. Although, I gotta say, Oldoa and A2 make an incredible combo. So, with all of that being said,
I like spring. The caress of the breeze is like none other.
let's take a look at what Jeume can do in Arena. And I want to first start this out with going up against Jeume with my Lightning team. So this is going to be one of the better teams right now. I guess I could improve this team by swapping Lightning for Fang, but I think the defense penetration here is pretty important for this team in particular, especially because Jeume tends to have a lot of defense, and there are, in theory, ways of, especially like if you have Jeume and Oldoa, Venerable Heart, if you have enough room in your buff pattern, because Jeume, as you can see, has really good everything but the kitchen sink buffs here. Venerable Heart would allow her to protect her defensive power really well. Now, I want to point out here that by a lot of calculations and just looking at a lot of the types of barriers and things that Jeume has on her, she would be more of an anti-magical unit. However, as you can see here, this is very much a physical team, and she's doing pretty well against it. And that's because she has a lot of defense as well. So if she can defend her defense, and Oldoa's TMR allows her a way of doing that she could be a really dominating package. But as you can see here, my team is pretty fast. I think I want to make this a little bit faster. I have some options here, but I think I'm going to go with Bells. I don't really need the AP, but it is very fast. I mean, I don't really need the AP, but it is very fast. So this is going to be one of the 3 or 4 combinations of this team that I just find really dominating. And there's several of these teams out there. Basically just get a great synergy, get the newest units, and put Jeume in the middle of it, and it's great. So one of the best combinations here is going to be with Summer Glaciella. If you have her, you have her. If you don't, you don't. It makes her really, really hard to take down. And by the time you have, usually you're in a situation like this where your Astrius is trying to 2v1 2 other units. A2 makes an incredible partner here, and I'm going to switch my equipment to be a little bit less heavy on the water counter, because there are other things that I can beat with Lightning and other more mixed teams. By the way, Velas and A2, if you didn't already know this, make an incredible comment. Combo. Someone pointed out in my comments a couple of videos back, and they are quite good. But also getting Jeume some extra agility. This is one of the reasons Jeume being as fast as she is, A2 being as fast as she is, this can be a really good combination. Even though I'm doing all right against it, just getting that haste on both of them can be really powerful. And I'm sure that composition would do well against a lot of other ones. This is another one that I think I can take, but just kind of barely. One of the reasons... Oh, no, wait. Never mind. This is one of the ones that's probably going to win. I've already talked about, Jeume kind of needing Summer Glaciella to be, indomitable. She's definitely going to be strong regardless. She's a very powerful unit, don't get me wrong. But if you really want her to be unstoppable, you're going to need that Summer Glaciella. As you can see, this one wasn't near her Summer Glaciella, and she got punished for it badly. So even setting her up on the map, you want her to be running around under that aura. This is another composition. Both of the other units are very fragile. I'm not really sure how well A2 is going to be able to survive in this composition. And I have an elemental advantage over Jeume, so yeah, just one tapped her. So I think I have a good chance of winning this one as well. This is one of those fragile ice compositions, even with a tough brawler like Jeume, and even with A2 being as scary as she is, I don't think that you should necessarily run two fragile units. And I would consider A2 to be one of those fragile units for ice on the same team. You're just going to get beat by a lot of things, especially Alaya teams as well. This team doesn't really stand a chance, while Elda and Jeume are a great combination. And personally, they're what I'm running and what I'll show you a little bit later on. I think the ideal team is probably something like this, or switching in perhaps Ferris or Elda into that third slot. This is another one of the compositions that I really, really favor. And I think this is the strongest one, for purely water. The more you vary from that pattern, this Astrius here, for instance, the more likely you are to lose against a lightning team. And I think I can probably beat this one pretty consistently as well. So really, it is that combination. And this one, again, because there's no potential of Summer Glaciella and Jeume here, I can win this. And I can probably win this pretty handily, especially with Astrius being in here instead of a newer water unit himself. So that's kind of insult to injury. Elda is pretty good, though. Pretty good at dealing with physical, but as you can see, as their team starts to fall apart, then the rest of my team just kind of rips through like a chainsaw, because at this point we can outnumber them. Now, this is a good example of what you could expect from a greatsword composition, and holy shit, they've got the greatsword cards. That team is definitely going to kick my ass, but I think from what I remember, there was a variation on this in here too. I guess I'll take it on later. This one, I just want to demonstrate that it really is Jeume in this competition that's making it so that Lightning can't beat it. You can see just how much differently this fight goes with a low-level Jeume, where we just kind of clean up the whole board rather quickly. Okay, maybe we aren't doing damage that fast, but we got an LB off. I mean, she's coming back. Ooh. Berserk my main damage dealer, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so there are things that this team can do, but as you can see, I haven't even lost a unit yet. Finally lost my first unit the turn before they lose their last. So that's definitely not a good matchup. But then if we look at it here with, well, actually, I think this one's maybe a little bit more solid. The healing in there from Ferris is pretty cool. What I want to find here, though, is that same team, but with a fully leveled Jeume. So we'll see that later. And what that's going to kind of indicate for us is that just how much of a difference Jeume being a viable unit on that composition makes. But we're also going to see a number of variations on that. This is another one where we don't have a Summer Glaciella, but we do have Perrine. She's very powerful. But as you can see again, the team composition kind of falls apart even before Alaya really gets involved. Like, Lightning and Astrius are definitely doing a lot of work here, And especially with the elemental advantages, it really puts a big strain on Water's ability to deal with Astrius, especially with the way that I have his defenses layered. So here we are with a 120 Jeume. You can see their party composition here. VCs are pretty good. Here's another, I think the composition I just went up against. Let's try this again. Purina's on the other side this time, if I'm not mistaken. So this should be a different person's composition. Sometimes when you get this high up in rank, you don't really move that far, so you have the opportunity sometimes to face people twice in a row. Also, I've been running into a lot of scenarios where people are actually rising the ranks with me, and I can fight them multiple times that way too, which is neat. But as you can see, no matter which side Purine starts on, rather, this team just kind of falls apart to lightning. And again, like, all of these are strong teams for sure. This one is particularly interesting. Don't see a lot of Freyevia tanks. And in theory, Freyevia should be relatively weak to strike. So, in theory, Alaya's going to do really well here. But this is another really strong composition. And I'm not entirely sure that's how it worked out for me. Like, you would think... Okay, so we got Ice Prison off. That means that Freyevia got every... Ooh. But she did get her re-raise removed. Come on. Oh no. We were doing good! And then the Revenge of A2. Man, that was close though. But, that was mostly an ice team, and, that's not how I'm countering here. But, after fighting another version of the Purine team, here's one. Oh my god, I did not expect how strong this team would be. It's also, I don't know why Shinryu's on here. Must be the bonus thing. There's also really no support for the Devout on this team, so this is basically a greatsword team with Shalza and almost no support for her. But just watch what she does and watch what she brings to this party. And honestly, I'm not really sure there's a lot of other people that can do all of these things. And I think that Jeume and kind of the rest of this party want her to do these things. Like, look at this. Between a little bit of background healing, between the, healing while attacking factor that both of these characters have, their ability to drain or their ability to heal themselves and others while they're attacking, even though I'm putting some damage on them every turn, they're healing it back rather easily to the point where none of them went down. It's utterly ridiculous. So there, I finally found a version of the Greatsword team that has a less optimal unit. I'm in the middle of a winning streak, so I'm not trying to fight a Greatsword team that I'm going to lose. This one I think I might be able to take because it has a Bronwell. However, if this wasn't a Bronwell but instead Astrius, I think this would be kind of the ideal Greatsword team for her right now. Astrius kind of functioning as a tank, or at least as someone who can, take a couple of hits and distract for a second. Before still being able to get into chain and do a lot of damage. But as you can see, we're still having a lot of trouble with this team. And it is kind of a testament to, like, Alaya and Astrius being able to get in the middle and attack everything around them. Quite good at that. So here's a version with Shadowlink's the Crystalborn, which just isn't a good sub-in on this party. Maybe she's a lot better in limited, but in full cost competition, I'm not really seeing her being that great, which is kind of what I expected. Like, she seems to be a weak link on these teams. That being said, if you do have Elda and Jeume and you have Shadowlinks on the side there, again, you're not going to want to fight lightning teams. You're probably doing really well offensively with this, and I'm not necessarily picking on you. It's just you're not quite the thing that can beat its counter element, which is a high accolade. So I'm not picking on you or saying that your team's bad. I'm just saying that with a little bit of tweaking, slightly different units, there are actually really indomitable teams here. So this is one of the team compositions that I find especially troubling. It's maybe a little bit lower on my list of absolutely dominating team compositions for Jeume so far, but it is still really aggravating, and that is in particular the team that I'm going to be showing you a little bit later in this video.
Did you need me? I'm all ears.
Also, as you can see, Astrius's ability to remove courage is coming really in handy versus a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are kind of centered around courage because Jeume can defend it, so being able to remove courage is pretty helpful. Also, not sure that that's the right opening buff for her. Probably turn TMR buffs off for her in most cases because her main job buffs are just so very good. And in a fight like this, she didn't even get a chance to cast one, which is really unfortunate. That being said, I think we've still got a pretty good chance. What about you? She's also showing off some of her anti-magic cred here, but not quite enough anti-magic to 2v1 Vivi and Jeume together. And also a lot of that anti-magic of Jeume herself comes from those buffs. And you're going to be seeing her without those. And sure, Wind Veritas has a cool TMR buff. And I thought it would be fun on this team, but in retrospect, watching this video, I am kind of handicapping her by not letting her buff as much as she could using her main job buffs. That being said, she did just get one of them in on herself and an ally, which would make her and him quite durable against magic with a number of other things as well. Also, poison landing here is pretty bad for her, but hopefully we can clear this out before that becomes a really big problem. But oh no, their tank's back up. And Jeume is just kind of slicing through multiple units at once. Still kind of hanging in here, even though she's taking a lot of damage from poison at this point. Finally, Soul is down, and we just have to worry about their healer, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And switch some of these around. I think I'm going to give Sildra over here. Make her even faster. So now we have her at 120 agility. Let's go with an even faster TMR. Which is probably better than a TMR that gives her a buff that makes her even faster. Just because, as cool as that can be, she needs the raw agility because we don't have room in her buff order. Also, I can go ahead and Elder Awaken this VC just to get myself some extra points, some extra agility. Between these two things, we went from 120 agility to 124 and now 125. This is definitively one of the faster units in the game, and she's basically always going to go first, even in certain mirror matches with this setup. And she should perform a lot better now, so let's give her a look. Jeez, that buff just does like 7 things for her, and can buff her allies as well. I kind of wish she maybe, well, no, that's fine. Okay, she's got both of her main job buffs off, so she should be insanely ready to go at this point. And we're about to see the true full power of Jeume. Just wrecking people. Got through Soul's barrier, but barely, from the looks of it. Oh my gosh. Elda does so much damage to Soul. It's ridiculous. Even when other characters aren't doing amazing against him, Elda just runs over here and drops 15k damage on him like it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. It should be no secret that we're really good against fire teams, and I mean, it's water. What did you expect? But that being said, Jeume is amazing in these matchups as well. She can really deal with most things that fire has cooking. The major exception here is going to be evasion. She can deal with Sweetheart Ildira well enough because she can hit her pretty hard, even though her one guaranteed hit move is a low damage modifier. With Sweetheart Ildira being so weak as she is in terms of durability and in terms of actual evasive potential, not having sure hit avoidance, it's pretty easy to get her in 1 or 2 hits if she's not healing in between, which is still a lot slower than you want to take out an evasion unit especially, but she can do it. Other evasion units like Yuffie, definitely going to be a bit more of a problem for her, but Sorrow shouldn't be that bad either, especially with himself being stuck at 120. Oh my gosh, this team is pretty tough. Ooh, we're getting beat. Okay. Oh no, come on, win in your zones, win in your zones. Okay, cool. Ferris got it. Hey, kitty. Come back. Okay, never mind. Kitty doesn't want that much attention. So, remember I was talking about that. Nope, I'm gonna go with something I can definitely win. Maybe it was earlier today that I had that match, actually. Maybe it isn't in this video, unfortunately, but yeah, she does chew through Sweetheart Ildira pretty quickly, but again, not real. Evasion is going to be one of her downfalls, and probably one of the better ways to counter Jeume herself. You might be given a bit more trouble by her team. Again, as I've said before, and as I've said in the short, Omnilus's LB upgrade is coming, and that is going to be a big deal against evasion. But Jeume specifically can definitely be cheesed with good evasion teams, and I think Earth is probably in the best position to take advantage of this, of anyone right now. Lightning evasion would be interesting though, wouldn't it? I don't think we've seen any of that yet. So this team looks like it could be beatable. It has that 2 fragile units problem. The thing is, Uldoa might actually be able to fix that, because that's not necessarily a team building mistake, but I think for Ice right now it can be, at least in terms of being able to be good offensively and defensively. But Uldoa is powerful and stubborn enough that it looks like a proper Uldoa can actually make those teams work, which is ridiculous because now it means that a lot of Ice's older compositions, like using 2 of these fragile units together, she can stabilize these exceptionally well. Looks like I was going to try this fight again. Okay. So that's a real testament to her power as a unit. And I think I might do an arena showcase video for her as well. But, ooh, my week. My week is taking a long time. But might have the second of my most recent series of books, While You Were at Brunch, ready very soon. And I'm so happy about that. I still am not sure where to go with the ending, but pull that. Okay, so here we are against a more evasive fire team. Theoretically, this is going to be more of a problem for Jeume, but my other units are fairly accurate, at least with certain buffs active. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can get those buffs active. We can see if Jeume's guaranteed hit does as much good. Ooh, okay. LB onto Mont, he's down. Ferris was able to hit. I think Jeume hit with guaranteed. And she started the fight that Ferris could finish. Okay. Also, 420. Another Shadowlings composition. That should be easy. Ice comp, strong ice comp. Ice comp with lightning is a 115. Ooh, okay, this is interesting. Ice with Helena. Looks like a lot of these compositions are using Aldoa well or putting her in the center at the moment. Also, potentially, I think both of them have had her be the slowest unit as well. Damn. A2 wrecking people with a vengeance. Just barely didn't take her out, and that clutch reflex. I hate the kind of RNG element that reflex can bring to a fight, but if you can't hit them, you can't hit them.
A small blessing from me to you.
And that's a way to win. 420 again. So finally, let's try out Strike versus various Jeume teams. At this point, you've seen all the Jeume teams. You understand how they work from one side of the field or the other. You also, as longtime viewers of my channel, hopefully, if not, check out the other videos. You'll know a lot about the Strike team, as I've used it a lot on this channel. So, with all that being said, I think I'm going to dip out on commentary, and I'll be back around the end to talk to you about other things, maybe even wrap up with some thoughts on Jeume's kit, etc. You'll notice that a lot of the problems and inconsistencies that Lightning had, Strike doesn't have so much, in part because it's powerful enough to just power through its difficulties in other places and keep up that DPS race and even push the other team into a DPS race when that may not be the thing it's best suited for, which is excellent. It means that Jeume definitely isn't unbeatable. Alaya is a big part of how you win here, but we've had plenty of opportunities to get a guaranteed pull on her by this point. So she is certainly counterable. This is almost definitely the best way to do it. You'll see one of their best teams here, one that I couldn't even beat my Lightning team. But Strike should be able to do that pretty well. And with that being said, let's look into kits. I do have a few thoughts. Dispel Auto Revive is really helpful against the mage teams that we have right now. Mages especially tend to use Auto Revive way more often than Courage, so this really leans into her being an anti-magic unit. Secondly, I want to talk about her sub-job skill Blossom Haze, because I've seen her use this a lot more often than you would think. The fact that it hits 2 units to select 2 units target attack and just has great range means that a lot of times I've seen her do this before she falls in battle, and she'll often disable at least one character, so it's kind of her last-ditch way of turning the game around. And if she ever lands both, this move will have ended the game for your opponent. Unless it's 3v1, in which case Jeume was just in over her head and well, best of luck with that 1v1v2 kind of thing. Let's see. So I really actually do recommend her main sub job. But Barrier Break Lance, I guess, is pretty cool. She doesn't have any way of breaking barriers in her main job. And I guess Full Body Blow does reduce counter chance, so that can be interesting out of Viking. But I really don't think that you necessarily want either of these skills for her so much. One of the last things I want to look at, though, here is the hype composition, and actually this team is really powerful. Even though it doesn't include Jeume on it, it is really tough. It's not quite as tough as, I don't know, some might have you believe, but yes, it is very difficult to beat. Maybe this map separating the 3 units out a little bit more made me more able to overcome this. Maybe it's just that they aren't all completely bunched together and their auras aren't all protecting each other. However, you can still see how difficult this composition is to really beat down. Now, I do come close to taking out 2 of their units, which suggests to me that defeating this type of team composition is possible, and that I just kind of need to wrap my head around it. But it is difficult, and it's difficult for a team that usually has good matchups against most things, so that's really strong. And if anything, it might be a good reason to say, hey, if you're thinking Aldoa, maybe stay the course if this is the kind of team you're building, because it works. And it works in a place where there are stronger strategies brewing and bubbling up. So having one of those for yourself seems like a good way to go, I guess. But with all of that being said, let's switch over to the face cam.
Moments of peace like these are meant to be enjoyed.
This is, if you're into more like realistic fiction, kind of angsty millennial energies, this is a good book for you. Set in 2020, early height of the pandemic, it focuses on technology that would allow you to record your dreams and some of the very obvious and modern concerns that technology like that would raise. I mean, I've often had so much trouble remembering my dreams when I wake up, and thought that I had such fascinating dreams that I've wanted a technology like this to exist. But the more I see the modern world around me, the more I see the ways that this would instantly become perverted. Not like dirty perverted, although that could happen too, but you know what I mean. Just corrupted by the powers that be. But if you're looking for more of a fun, like, inside the game, seeing how the NPCs get about and how they go about their lives when you're not playing, that's more of the type of thing that Athena's Chosen is, where the NPCs themselves decide that, you know, they have to save themselves because no one else is gonna fucking do it. Which is just a lovely premise, I think. If either of those look appealing to you, then be sure to check out that link in the description, where you'll find links to these books as well as other Jackie Fox products and content. But also, I want to say, like, after I got done with the recent edit for this book, I finally got its hardcover. So I'm really excited. I don't know, I just liked the cover art, and I was really excited to make a hardcover to put it on. So if you would like that as well, it's a little bit more because it's a little bit more expensive to produce, but it's a really good high quality copy if you want some Jackie Fox content to hold on to for a long time. So that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.